Heidi Allen, is there any indication that the government is going to shift ground on this?
Well, I'm hoping so, yes. We had a Westminster Hall debate yesterday morning, and James Brokenshire spoke very positive that an announcement would be coming in the coming days, but we're really just desperate to hear the content of that, because so far we've seen, from our point of view, not as much assistance to children already in Europe as we would like, so we're kind of on the edge of our seats waiting to hear what he's going to say.
Well, and as you say, he has, as the Immigration Minister, said that the government will be looking to do more, but it's the central issue of whether the government would actually change its mind in terms of helping those unaccompanied children that are already in Europe, when it has repeatedly said, no, we will focus effort and perhaps more effort on dealing with children and families in refugee camps in countries like Jordan.
And that is right, and that still remains overarchingly the right thing to do. But I suppose the way I look at it is that I think nobody would argue that leaders across the country were a little bit slow to react to this, almost rabbit in headlights. And this is a great plan, you know, to educate in the region, etc. But the problem is that plan came after so many people had made the journey already. So I understand the pull factor. You know, I saw the boats for myself in Lesbos. You don't want anybody getting into those, little dinghies. However, the fact remains that some of them are here. And I have seen them, 3 weeks ago I was in Calais. There are children there completely vulnerable, no safeguarding in place at all. Are we really going to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, well, that's okay, they can stay there? That's, frankly, for me, not good enough.
What about the issue of pull factors and incentives? Yes, they are here already. What the government keeps stating is that by taking and agreeing to take a certain number of those unaccompanied children in Europe, it will only tempt more people to make that journey.
But there are so many of them that have a genuine right to claim asylum here. On the train when I came back 3 weeks ago from Calais, there were you'll remember, the 3 first young Syrian refugee boys who'd made it through the process. They were actually on the train with us. There should have been 4. The 4th one, there was no room in the car for him, and he was sent back to the jungle to wait for another month. So for me, it's the processing, the mechanics. There are children out there with family already in the UK and Europe, and we have a duty to facilitate that happening far more quickly. That, for me, is where the government should be focusing. I don't necessarily agree with an arbitrary number of 3,000. It feels a little finger in the air. But if we can honestly and truthfully say that we have processes in place at the right locations to identify these children at risk, then that kind of number becomes arbitrary. But we need to see more action on the ground.
Right. Ed Vaizey, should the government move on this?
Well, I think what Heidi was indicating is that James Brokenshire is taking this issue very seriously and looking at it very carefully. I can't say whether the government is going to move. I know you're going to come with this, but James Brokenshire is in charge of the policy. He is giving evidence, I think, today to the Home Affairs Select Committee, and I think he's indicated that he's taking this very seriously. And I would echo pretty much word for word what Heidi has said. On the one hand, yes, we have a very robust policy, which is to help people in the region, to take specific people that we can into the UK, but not to help the human traffickers, as it were. And we know we have an outstanding record in terms of the financial support as well we're giving both to the Mediterranean rescue operation and in Syria. But clearly people feel very strongly about this position of unaccompanied children.
And your own colleagues.
And as you put the question yourself, it's a horrible thing to have to talk about the pull factor, but that also has to be a potential factor, because a lot of these children are coming here via criminal gangs, and it's important that there's a clear policy.
Heidi Allen, in terms of support, are there enough Tory MPs to defeat this? Like all these things, it hinges on the announcement that James is able to make. And, Ed's right, James takes this very, very seriously. He talks to me and colleagues on a regular basis. It's within his power. It depends what he's going to announce. I was just reflecting then on Ed saying about this pull factor, and something else that perhaps we don't think about. The other pull factor is a nasty pull factor, and that's the pull factor of abuse and trafficking of children being pulled into prostitution. Because they're left there.
Yeah, and they are, and it happens every day. Talk to the doctors at Médecins Sans Frontières, the injuries that they have to deal with that these children are sustaining. It's horrid, and that is a much worse pull factor from my point of view.
Heidi Allen, thank you very much.